this was the week where former respectable journalist Matt Taibbi, who has long been an opportunistic grifter and just a sort of honestly like a petulant asshole, was given a series of emails and internal communications from Twitter by Elon Musk. So Twitter communications given to this journalist by the richest man in the world, now currently the guy who owns Twitter. And so Matt goes on a 20 plus thread sort of like, expose on Twitter being like, I'm going to reveal something so amazing to you about Hunter Biden and Twitter and how freedom of speech, and please subscribe to my Substack, but don't, because I'm actually just releasing this on Twitter first. But anyway, still love me. So I was trying to like, again, duck under this like a big wave. And you're like, I just want this to wash over me and like not have to think about it. But it's actually kind of entertaining, especially considered, again, what a petulant a-hole Matt Taibbi is and has been. And this is coming from someone who thinks he's probably one of the best writers I've ever read. He used to be dope as hell. And then
Well,
he saw his star. Anyway, I have thoughts on like, just let me, he like people like Glenn Greenwald were banking on Hillary Clinton winning in 2016 so they could continue their contrarian Democrats are the real enemy and I don't have to think or talk about fascism. And then the fucking fascists won and they were like, shit, I don't want to be in agreement with all these people. I know, I'm just going to actually call free speech, use the word free speech and have that sort of be like a cudgel to defend against all of my crap takes, which are basically a defense of those same fascists.
So I had not kept up with Taibbi evidently until recently. He'd sort of fallen through the cracks for me. I had no idea because, like, when I was younger, my dad was a huge Rolling Stone guy.
Yeah,
like lifelong subscriber to Rolling Stone. Whenever I go to the house, I just read a lot of Rolling Stone, and I know Taibbi wrote for them in like the 2000s, the time when I was on fire with hatred for George W. Bush. And I just remember back then he was like, he was like my dude back. I remember him as being like, both verbose and vulgar and, calling W a scurrilous donkey fucker or whatever, like stuff like that.
Right. Yes.
And like, I liked him. And then I had not kept up with it. I didn't realize that he had followed that unfortunate trajectory that you laid out there until recently when all this new shit started coming out, and I do think it's a shame. But I guess I'm not really that surprised because you said petulant asshole. I mean, I feel like if you're being honest and objective about it, that was always there. But like, just sort of, it's not that hard to believe or understand. But I am sort of bummed out by it.
I've been bummed out by it. I went on a deep dive a few years ago about Taibbi, and just a quick digression. One of the things he did is he met up with a journalist once, speaking of petulant, met up with a journalist who'd read his book. It wasn't the Eric Garner book, which I think was actually some good journalism. Some other book about basically his time in Russia. As you guys know, he was a journalist in Russia and sort of participated in this like kind of like dirt baggy, ironic, satirical, and heavy quotations publication that was ultimately pretty sexist and racist and messed up, and like was kind of like a playboy of the expat scene in Russia. So anyway, that's his backstory. He meets up with this journalist. The journalist goes like, I didn't like the book, actually. I thought it was bad. It was like a collection of some of the writing from that time period. And he throws a cup of coffee in their face.
Right.
That to me, like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know. I would never, how much shit has been talked to me, like maybe not in person, but like, especially on the internet. I would never, I've had,
But if someone was like, honestly, like, to be honest, like intellectual, like, frankly, I just didn't really care for your book. You know what I mean? It wasn't your best. Bam, throws a cup of coffee. This is such a digression. The point is, what the hell happened? What was released by Taibbi? Okay, so this is from The Verge, and Elon Musk promised Twitter expose on the Hunter Biden story is a flop that docks multiple people. So those multiple people were two Twitter workers and Rokana, like the Representative Rokana's personal email was released. It includes shots of emails between Twitter's leadership, members of the Biden campaign, and outside policy leaders. At one point, there's even a confidential communication from Twitter's deputy general counsel. That's what is in it. The emails show Twitter's team struggling with how to explain their handling of the New York Post story that broke the news of Hunter's leaked laptop files. Again, the ones in which he fucks and does drugs, and whether they made the correct moderation decision in the first place. At the time, it wasn't clear if the materials were genuine, and Twitter decided to ban links or images of the Post story, citing its policy on the distribution of hacked materials. The move was controversial then, primarily among Republicans, but also with free speech advocates worried about Twitter's decision to block a news outlet. I mean, the Post news outlet, okay, sort of a gray area there. While Musk might be hoping we see documents showing Twitter's largely former staffers nefariously deciding to act in a way that helped now President Joe Biden, the communications mostly show a team debating on how to finalize and communicate a difficult moderation decision. Quote, "I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for making this unsafe," one former communications staffer wrote. "Will we also mark similar stories as unsafe?" asked another. Yoel Roth, Twitter's head of trust and safety at the time, said the company had decided to err on the side of caution given the severe risks here and the lessons of 2016. Remember the Hillary's emails, the October surprise around WikiLeaks, and the DNC hack, etc. Jim Baker, Twitter's deputy general counsel, weighed in to agree that, quote, "It is reasonable for us to assume that they may have been hacked and that caution is warranted." Musk claims that this is proof of government meddling, but it is plainly not. Musk said, and he tweeted, "If this isn't a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment, what is?" But the email appears to show the Biden campaign, which is not a government entity, flagging tweets to Twitter for review under their moderation policies before the election even took place. Taibbi says, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. So by his own admission. Now, who gave him this fucking shit? Taibbi's handling of the emails, which seems to have been handed to him at Musk's direction, though he only references, quote, "sources at Twitter." Yeah, who's left? Bitch, there's nobody left. It's just Elon going through old things, being like, "Here, do this, take that."
Right. Yeah, they definitely thought it'd be some huge gotcha moment or whatever. I don't think it's possible for me to care about a story that's even remotely related to that goddamn laptop anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's like, I don't.
Sorry to interrupt. It's so perfectly this gradation of grift, which is, I'm not defending the laptop story. I'm defending the right for the laptop story to get out there. I'm not defending Kanye West. I'm defending his right to say that the Holocaust was a good thing. Like that. Do you understand how it happens? How we're just kind of normalizing? Like, what the fuck, Matt Taibbi? That's not even a story. Again, no amount of malfeasance was found on that laptop.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't, maybe this is a slightly personal thing for me. 'Cause anecdotally, like, I'm super liberal all over the internet and I've had shit pulled down, blocked, whatever, I got banned from TikTok for hate speech. Still unsure how that worked. Yeah, I managed to get back on. I went through this whole thing. I was like, are you telling me that American conservatives are a protected class under your conduct policy? Because if they are, then yeah, you got me.
Right.
I guess that would be hate speech, lock me up. But otherwise, that's not. And it took me like 3 weeks, all kinds of back and forth. And I never got a real explanation, but they did unblock me. But I'm saying, like, I get dinged all the time.
Right.
By, and I know it's snowflake conservatives who are easily offended by what I'm saying, who are reporting me to the authorities to have me canceled for offending them. And,
absolutely. Or if you say Palestine, you're like, you're done, you're out. But is Elon Musk taking up that clarion call? No.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, and then some of the things like shit that could genuinely hurt people, genuine misinformation. You know what I mean? Medical misinformation in the midst of a pandemic is like, should be treated a little differently than some of this other shit, but to them, it's all the same,
Right. Stop trying to make Hunter Biden's laptop happen is what
Right.
Trey and I are trying to say.
Yes.
It's never going to happen. But it is interesting that this CEO now, who purports free speech, directly handed this internal communications to a like all kinds of ethical journalistic lines crossed, all kinds of like forgets free speech. This is just kind of like weird tech overlord behavior. And to weigh in on it, I do want to bring in my guest, Canadian tech critic, host of Tech Won't Save Us podcast, and author of the book Road to Nowhere. Please welcome Paris Marks. Paris.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
What the hell? Like, that's all I want to ask you, Paris. What is going on here? What does it mean that it was bad enough, and we'll talk about Elon, that he's been, letting white supremacists back online, all this and that. But suddenly this bizarre attempt to expose Twitter for their suppression of information. From what I read, from what you understand of this story, was there suppression of information?
No, I can't say I've paid too much attention to what's been going on with the Hunter Biden laptop stuff because, like Trey, I'm just profoundly uninterested. I think it's a non-story in many ways, but I think it's interesting that since Musk has taken over, he's really wanted to shape the narrative around, the Twitter that existed before he owned it, because as you might remember, there was kind of a 6-month period where he was trying to litigate in the court of public opinion, but also in a court in Delaware, around what Twitter was actually doing, around whether its business kind of aligned with what it was saying publicly. And right after he took over, he released Slack messages, screenshots of Slack messages that suggested that, he was right the whole time and what Twitter was saying never really aligned with what they were saying publicly, right?
Right.
What they said internally was different, and they were kind of admitting that Elon Musk was right, which was not true, actually. But it's just Elon trying to shape the narrative. And so then if we look at like the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, it's once again Elon Musk trying to come in and say like, look, what they were doing before was really terrible. They were suppressing free speech, all this kind of stuff. The content moderation was much too heavy. But there's another piece there where since Elon Musk has taken over, he's also wanted to say like, the world is talking on Twitter, right? What happens on Twitter is very important. It's where everyone who is like having these important conversations are and where the media is like litigating these important topics. And so he wants to say that not only does Twitter provide a lot of kind of links to news stories, which is not true, like that it provides a lot of traffic, but then on top of that, that a lot of actual kind of reporting and journalism happens on Twitter, which is why he directly went to someone like Matt Taibbi to say, here are these documents. When you report what is in them, they can't be on your Substack. You need to post a thread on Twitter so that this whole discourse kind of happens there. So it's interesting to kind of see that play out and what he is trying to kind of frame Twitter as, but also what he's trying to, how he's trying to use someone like Matt Taibbi for his own purposes. And of course, Taibbi's perfectly happy to go right along with it.
To expose nothing. Let's get back to like, what was the headline? It's somewhere in like the number 40 thread. Like that is where it is. But that's
Twitter removed dick pics, but Matt Taibbi won't actually tell you that in the thread, Yes. This is the thing that the Biden campaign was kind of flagging in this email that seemed to show that like, oh my God, they're asking Twitter to remove tweets, right? But actually, at least four out of 5 of them were apparently photos of Hunter Biden's penis.
Which let's be real.
I think it's okay they took that down.
We do, but they're very envious of it. And so they, of course, wanted to see it. And
Elon Musk in particular.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's evidenced by their obsession with Hunter Biden, making a whole ass movie about him, again, which makes him look really cool. And they're like, give us those dick pics. We can't get hard unless we see them. I'm sorry, but that is totally where they're at. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.